Right, let's talk about the slightly less insane version of Untamed, Condi Untamed. The build with the single most unfortunate abbreviation in the game. They really give us this with the same expansions as the antique summoning stones. Anyway, the idea is the exact same thing as the power version. Constantly proc Fervent Force so you can spam the already low cooldown Condi skills that Axe has. And those axes aren't interchangeable, you need the offhand axe for the extra CC proc. In theory, Shortbow can fill the same functionality, but one, that would mean you have to care about poison duration, and two, Shortbow really only has one good Condi skill in the 2 and the auto attack, which is directly worse than Axe having 2 and 3, when they essentially have almost no cooldown with this build. Doing this rotation optimally still requires you to be insanely fast, but this version of the build is way less chaotic and less punishing than the power one. And you can kinda just leave your pet unleashed most of the time, so the lack of form swapping makes the whole thing easier to pick up as well. Speaking of, your choice of pet doesn't really matter all that much. The Lynx, Jacaranda, and Iboga are the best DPS-wise, with each having some type of small benefit. Your survivability is quite good, the Untamed miners give you extra health and healing, and damage reduction while your pet's unleashed, which is, again, most of the time. You can also easily add more with Forced Fortification. And hey, your heal skill has basically no cooldown, so that's a plus. And if you're wondering why the heal shout is part of the rotation, it's so you copy your boons to your pet for a DPS boost. Utility, on the other hand, is more limited in some ways. Now, granted, you have inherent access to a projectile block, boon strip, and obviously a ton of CC. That is kind of your thing. And if you want, you can also bring a lot of Condi Cleanse, and that's already a very solid baseline. But because your only open slot is Sharpening Stones, you give up a good chunk of damage if you want to use the other options, like the Res, the AoE Stun Break, Permanent Mob, or the Invulnerability. Sometimes that can be totally worth it, you're just not going as crazy with the whole thing as Power Untamed does. As you might notice, it's kinda hard to talk about this without comparing the two versions, but I like to think of this build a bit like Power Untamed's older sibling. A bit taller, as far as the benchmark number goes, less frantic, but also far less funny.